Phishing, a digital con that tricks people into handing over sensitive information such as passwords or financial data. In this technique, hackers disguise themselves as trusted sources such as your bank or your colleague, hoping you'll click a link or enter your personal details without thinking twice. Most phishing attempts arrive as emails with fake links leading to fraudulent websites. These attacks often pressure you to act fast, and in that rush, you make mistakes that put your security at risk. This technique first appeared in the 1990s and has evolved since, showing up in social media and text messages or even phone calls. One of the most infamous cases was the I Love You virus in 2000, a malware sent via email that caused billions in damage. Up to this day, it remains one of the most costly phishing-based attacks in history. Spear phishing. While traditional phishing casts a wide net, spear phishing is far more precise. Hence, it is a smarter, more calculated twist on the classic scam. It targets specific individuals, often those with access to valuable data or systems, like executives or financial managers. What makes spear phishing so effective is the amount of research behind it. Hackers study their targets closely, combing through social media profiles or even leaked data, to craft messages that feel authentic and personal, making them much harder to spot. This method first appeared in the early 2000s and has been used in several high-profile breaches. One of the major examples was the 2016 hack of the Democratic National Committee, where personalized emails gave attackers access to key internal systems of the government. Social engineering. Some of the most effective cyber attacks don't involve breaking into systems. Instead, they involve tricking people in a technique called social engineering. These hackers study their targets and learn their routines so they can pose as someone trustworthy. Unlike phishing, which relies on fake websites or bulk emails, this approach exploits human behavior to get past defenses that no software can block. All it takes is a convincing message or phone call, and suddenly the door to a secure network swings wide open. Some of the earliest known cases go back to the 1980s. Hacker Kevin Mitnick famously used these techniques to infiltrate major corporations, not with malware, but with charm and a phone line. Today, these tactics are more versatile than ever, from fake tech support calls to email impersonation, and because they feel so real, they're often overlooked. SIM swap attack. In this hacking technique, hackers hijack your phone number by tricking your mobile provider into transferring it to a SIM card they control. With your number in hand, they can intercept your texts, answer your calls, and more importantly, bypass two-factor authentication that relies on SMS. This opens the door to email accounts, banking apps, crypto wallets, and basically anything else tied to your phone. SIM swapping first appeared around 2013 but surged in the late 2010s, fueled by the rise of cryptocurrency. In 2018, one high-profile attack saw hackers steal millions in crypto by targeting prominent investors, using nothing but social engineering and a stolen phone number. It's a low-tech hack with high-impact results, and it's still catching victims off guard today. Keylogging. This technique silently tracks everything you type, passwords, credit card numbers, private messages, and then sends it all to a hacker using a tool known as a keylogger. You don't need to click a shady link or open an infected file because just using your device is enough, and that's what makes this threat so dangerous. Keyloggers often sneak in through phishing emails or as part of larger malware attacks, and once they're in, they're nearly invisible. Back in the 1970s, keyloggers were physical devices wired into keyboards, but in the 90s, software keyloggers exploded, and one of the most infamous examples is the Olympic Vision. This specific tool was used to spy on corporate executives and steal sensitive business intel. Credential stuffing. Reusing the same password across websites might save time, but it also opens the door to a serious threat. In credential stuffing, hackers use old usernames and passwords from past data breaches to break into other accounts. Hackers run automated scripts that test stolen credentials on hundreds of platforms in seconds, and if just one match works, they're in. From there, they can access emails, bank accounts, cloud storage, and anything tied to that login. Credential stuffing was first recognized in 2008, but it really took off with the rise of large-scale data breaches in the 2010s. In 2014, attacks hit major platforms like eBay and Adobe, compromising millions of accounts through nothing more than recycled passwords. It's a simple tactic with massive consequences, and it's one more reason to never reuse passwords. Brute force attack. Some hackers don't wait for a leak or a stolen password. Instead, they force their way in one guess at a time. A brute force attack uses automated tools wherein hackers test every possible combination of letters, numbers, and symbols until something works. Weak passwords can fall in seconds, and although stronger ones might hold out longer, modern hardware makes them far from unbreakable. That's why defenses matter. Long, unpredictable passwords, CAPTCHAs, and lockouts after too many failed attempts make brute force attacks harder and slower. This method evolved in the 1990s with the rise of automated password cracking software. In 2009, it made headlines when a hacker used it to break into Yahoo's encrypted email systems, exposing millions of accounts. Today, with cheap cloud computing and powerful processors, attackers can run millions of guesses in a very short time. Session hijacking. When an active session token or cookie from a victim's browser has been stolen, a session hijacking has occurred. Hackers gain the ability to impersonate that user, effectively bypassing login security to access sensitive accounts and websites. Unlike phishing, which involves tricking users into willingly handing over information, this type of attack quietly exploits an already authenticated session. Hackers often target unsecured networks like public Wi-Fi to silently intercept communication between the victim and the server without the victim ever noticing. While not a new threat, it gained significant notoriety during the infamous 2020 Twitter hack, where attackers hijacked session tokens to seize control of several high-profile user accounts. Man in the middle. An attacker secretly intercepts communication between two parties, such as between a user and a website, without either side realizing it. A man-in-the-middle attack involves intercepting data in real time, which allows the attacker to spy on or inject malicious content into the data being exchanged. The attacker could change the details of a financial transaction or steal login credentials before they're transmitted to the intended recipient. These attacks are more common on unsecured networks such as public Wi-Fi, where attackers can intercept data more easily. Though the technique dates back to the 1990s, it gained public attention in 2013, when Edward Snowden revealed the extent to which government agencies use this method to spy on global communications. Evil twin. Also called fake Wi-Fi, an evil twin attack involves setting up a Wi-Fi network that mimics a legitimate one. The name might sound dramatic, but the trick is simple. Lure unsuspecting users into connecting, and once they do, the attacker can intercept all internet traffic, including login credentials and sensitive data. This is different from a typical MITM attack as it focuses specifically on manipulating Wi-Fi connections. This technique became more common in the 2000s with the rise of public Wi-Fi. DNS spoofing. Sometimes just typing a website's name can lead you somewhere dangerous, and it's not because you misspelled it. A DNS spoofing attack involves corrupting the domain name system or DNS cache, the system that turns domain names into IP addresses. When you try to visit a legitimate website, the attacker quietly reroutes you instead to a malicious website that is designed to steal your data or install malware. This is different from phishing because DNS spoofing targets the behind-the-scenes process that makes websites load in the first place. And because most people never think twice about DNS, the deception works surprisingly well. This method has been used since the early 2000s, taking advantage of the trust users' place in DNS to direct them to legitimate websites. In 2013, hackers used DNS spoofing to target high-profile websites like Twitter and the New York Times, redirecting users to completely fake versions of the sites. SQL Injection. This is a technique where attackers exploit vulnerabilities in a website's code to insert malicious commands into places like login forms or search bars. Think of a database like a digital filing cabinet. Normally, SQL helps you fetch exactly what you're looking for, but in an injection attack, the hacker rewrites the request. Because this happens on the server side, it can allow attackers to bypass security and gain unauthorized access. They might alter private user info and delete records, or even gain full administrative control of the entire database. First identified in 1998, SQL injection has remained a common threat due to poor coding practices. In 2011, an SQL injection attack on Sony's website resulted in the theft of personal information of 1 million accounts. Cross-site scripting, a hacking technique that does not target servers but rather goes straight to a website's browser. Cross-site scripting, or XSS, is where attackers inject malicious scripts into websites that are viewed by other users. The attacker's goal is to execute the script in the victim's browser to steal session cookies or to redirect them to malicious websites. XSS is different from SQL Injection, which directly manipulates the database because it takes advantage of websites that let users post content like comments or profile info without properly checking it for harmful code. As more interactive websites were launched in the 2000s, XSS became a widespread concern. One of the earliest high-profile cases occurred in 2005 when hackers used the technique to steal user data from MySpace using an XSS worm named Sandy. Today, XSS remains one of the most common and persistent web vulnerabilities on the internet. Remote code execution. Imagine a hacker being able to control your computer without ever touching it. That's the danger of remote code execution, or RCE, which allows attackers to run code on a victim's machine from a remote location. All it takes is a flaw in the software, maybe in applications or operating systems, and the attacker can issue commands or even seize total control. Unlike SQL Injection, which exploits specific parts of an application, RCE takes advantage of vulnerabilities in the application or server itself, making it one of the most severe types of attacks. RCE attacks have been used since the early days of the internet, but gained prominence in the 2000s. In 2021, a critical flaw known as log4shell was discovered in log4j, a widely used Java-based logging library used in everything from enterprise software to cloud services like Amazon and Microsoft. Fortunately, the vulnerability was mitigated, but not without affecting the services of many companies. Command injection. Hackers take advantage of web apps that don't properly check user input. A command injection sneaks in specially crafted commands and then tricks the host server into running them. This hacking technique isn't just about reading data, because once the attacker successfully injects their commands, they can modify files and install other malicious software or gain complete control over the system. One of the most notable command injection attacks occurred in 2014 when a researcher discovered a command injection flaw in Yahoo's image processing system, ImageMagick. By uploading a seemingly normal image with hidden system commands, he tricked the server into executing those commands. These kinds of attacks are especially dangerous because they go straight to the heart of the machine, often leading to complete compromise before anyone even notices. Zero-day exploit. In this technique, the attacks strike before anyone even realizes there's a flaw. Zero-day exploits are named as such because the software developers have 0 days to fix the problem. The flaws in the software are unknown and completely unprotected. This gives attackers a rare opportunity to break in quietly without triggering alarms and operate until the bug is discovered and a fix is released. 0 days are so powerful that they've become a hot commodity on the black market, often fetching huge prices. One of the most famous zero-day attacks was the Stuxnet worm in 2010. The worm exploited multiple zero-day vulnerabilities in Windows systems to spread and sabotage Iran's nuclear enrichment facilities. This was a military-grade cyber weapon. Stuxnet showed the world the power and potential impact of zero-day exploits. Privilege escalation. Getting into a system is one thing and taking it over is another. That's where privilege escalation comes in. Attackers might break into a machine with access as low-level users with restricted control over a system. But from there, they look for ways to climb the ladder, elevating their permissions to gain full control over the system so they can access sensitive data or hijack the entire network. A notable example of a privilege escalation was during the 2017 WannaCry ransomware attack, which spread by exploiting a vulnerability in Windows known as the Eternal Blue, originally developed by the National Security Agency. This was later leaked by the Shadow Brokers hacking group. The result? Hundreds of thousands of infected devices across 150 countries, all because of a single vulnerability that let attackers rise through the system ranks unchecked. Backdoor access. Sometimes hackers don't just break in, they leave a secret door open behind them. This is known as a backdoor, a secret, unauthorized access point that lets attackers quietly return to a compromised system at any time they want. Once the attacker has successfully infiltrated a system, they install hidden programs that allow them to bypass normal authentication methods and maintain persistent access without raising alarms. An infamous example of a backdoor attack is the 2013 Target breach, in which hackers infiltrated Target's network through a compromised third-party vendor. This backdoor enabled them to steal millions of credit card details from Target customers without the company noticing. This attack demonstrated the importance of supply chain security and how backdoors can remain undetected for months. Trojan Horse. Just like in Greek mythology, a Trojan horse is a deceptive program that appears to be harmless or useful, but hides malicious intent inside. When the victim interacts with the Trojan, by downloading or running it, it secretly unleashes malware like spyware or keyloggers that can steal data or take control of the system. Trojans have been around for a long time, but their usage has exploded in recent years. The Emotet Trojan is one of the most infamous examples, originally designed for banking fraud, but has evolved into a malware distribution network. What made Emotet particularly dangerous was its ability to slip past traditional security measures by disguising itself as legitimate software. It was also capable of spreading automatically through email attachments, making it one of the most widespread Trojans in recent history. Malware. Short for malicious software, malware is a blanket term for any software that's designed to damage or disrupt a computer or network. It comes in a variety of forms, such as viruses, worms, spyware, ransomware, Trojans, and the list goes on. Some steal passwords, others lock you out of your files, and some just aim to take over systems or destroy networks. The global cost of malware is staggering, with millions of dollars lost annually to malware infections. One of the most costly incidents occurred in 2007 when a banking Trojan called Zeus, also known as Zbot, began targeting financial information such as login credentials for online banking and other sensitive personal data. Cybercriminals used it to quietly drain accounts without victims knowing until it was too late. Ransomware. Imagine turning on your computer only to find all your files locked, with a digital ransom note staring back at you. That's ransomware. It silently encrypts your data, then demands payment, typically in cryptocurrency, to unlock it. Victims are often given a deadline, and the hacker threatens to delete the data if the payment isn't made. These attacks are usually delivered via phishing emails or even compromised websites. Ruck ransomware, first discovered in 2018, quickly became notorious for targeting high-value organizations, particularly in the healthcare and government sectors. Named after a character from the anime Death Note, Ryuk is known for high ransom demands, often between $1 million and $10 million. It is believed to be operated by a cybercrime syndicate linked to the Lazarus Group. Ryuk wasn't just effective, it was ruthless, and its impact was felt around the world. Drive-by download. This technique is a stealthy one that automatically downloads and installs malware just by visiting a compromised website. Unlike other hacking techniques, the victim doesn't have to click on anything, because if a website has been compromised, just loading its page is enough to trigger the attack. This makes drive-by downloads incredibly dangerous and hard to prevent. This method first gained significant attention in 2006 and has been used to distribute various types of malware. One notorious case occurred in 2012, when Java vulnerabilities were exploited by hackers to infect millions of systems with the flashback Trojan through drive-by downloads. The malware silently infected users who visited compromised websites, infecting over 600,000 Macs, shattering the myth that Apple devices were immune to malware. Supply chain attack. In cybersecurity, supply chain attacks show that trust is a vulnerability. These attacks target trusted third parties, often vendors and service providers, and use that access to compromise the systems of their customers. By infecting a supplier, the attacker gains access to many more potential victims than they would be able to target individually. A prime example of this technique is the 2017 attack on the US government when hackers injected malware into a routine software update for SolarWinds software, a tool used by thousands of businesses and government agencies. The attack went undetected for months, and once discovered, it became one of the largest and most damaging cyber espionage attacks in history. The breach affected organizations worldwide, demonstrating the massive scale of supply chain risks. Denial of service. This attack, abbreviated as DOS, overwhelms a website or server by flooding it with traffic until it crashes. A distributed denial of service, or DDoS, takes it even further, using thousands of machines at once to launch the attack, making it much harder to trace and even harder to stop. These attacks are often used by hacktivists and nation-state actors to disrupt services. One of the largest recorded DDoS attacks occurred in 2016, when the Mirai botnet was used to flood DIN, a major DNS provider, with traffic. This caused widespread outages on major websites like Twitter and Spotify, affecting millions of users globally. The attack was launched using compromised Internet of Things devices, everyday devices that connect to the internet like smartphones and smart home devices. And that's a wrap. If you found this breakdown of hacking techniques helpful, don't forget to leave a like and hit that subscribe button so you stay updated with the latest tech tips.